Well, hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Sam. I'm a student of the Bible. I've been a pastor for 22 years. If you want to read some of my writings, you can do that at samburke.org. My training involves biblical studies, theology, and biblical languages. I want to talk about this today. This is the UBS 5, the 5th edition of the Greek New Testament. It's just something I have to use for one of my my Greek class coming up here as a part of my master's degree. And I want to talk about the differences between the 5th edition and the 4th edition. And if you are someone who is a student of, Greek, you wanted to learn about, more of the Greek language, all that kind of stuff, then one of these is probably in your future. And I want to talk about, because you can get the 4th edition on, I think on eBay and even on Amazon for a lot cheaper than you can get the 5th edition. I just went on there and had to purchase it. So I want to talk about the differences between the two of them, though, and why that, it could be important for you to get the 5th one, or, if you don't need the stuff in the 5th one, you can just try to find the 4th one for a little cheaper, okay? Now, there's two main, in the critical text, which is what this is. The critical text is like trying to take the oldest manuscripts that we have found and trying to reconstruct what we thought, the original might look more like, versus like the Textus Receptus is more like it's in this received text line, but we don't have any manuscripts of that before like the 400s. Okay, so they're very similar, but they can be different at times in certain areas. Okay, so this is just about the critical text, and there are there's three different versions of this that you can use in school. There is the GNT, which is like, I think, I forget what that is, but the two main ones that I know of are the UBS one, which I think Holland is the main editor on this one. Kurt Holland, and then his wife Barbara helped him with this. There's some other people. Bruce Metzger worked on these and edited these. And then there's the Nestle Holland Novum Testamentum, which is the NA28. They're very similar. There's a little bit difference between the two of them. The NA28 has more variance in it, but less explanation in the footnotes as to what the variants are all about, why, all that kind of stuff. The UBS versions have less variants, but have way more in the footnotes, way more explanations of things. And so that's what you need to know about the difference between the two of them. The other difference is that the Novum Testamentum is usually done for like scholarly research and that kind of stuff in the Greek language, while this one is usually more for translation work. And so they're laid out differently. They have different aspects of it that help for translation versus for scholarly studies. So just a heads up, that's the big difference between the two. Okay, so I have both copies of the two latest copies of this. This is the 4th edition. This is the 5th edition, okay? So you can buy these 4th editions for a lot cheaper than you can buy the 5th edition, like I already said. But there's a difference between the two of them. I want to show you what the main differences are. Okay, one of the main differences, as you open it up, you'll see like maps and stuff. That's all the same. But one of the main differences that you're going to find right away that I found, and maybe it's just the one I bought. I think it's not, though, because I watched a couple different review videos on it, is that the pages feel different. And I think, in my opinion, the pages in the 4th edition that I have are a little thinner and a little more see-through. Like the ghosting in it is, you could see that on the video, right? The ghosting in it is pretty significant. The 5th edition, the pages feel different. There's still some ghosting in it, but not, to my eye, not as much as the other one. And they feel different. There's a different feel to the pages. These feel thinner. They feel not as smooth. These feel thicker and smoother. Okay. The other big change, and I love the fact that they changed this. In the 4th edition, when you get to the actual Greek text, like this is Matthew chapter 2, for example. The font of the Greek text is italicized in the 4th edition, and it's thinner. The advantage, however, in the 4th edition over the 5th edition I'm about to show you is that the font is larger in the 4th edition, but it's italicized. So if you're someone who's learning to write the letters in Greek, the italicized feels more like a cursive kind of a thing, even though it's not. It does feel a little different as you're looking at it versus the 5th edition. As you're reading through it, there seems to be more pages in the front here. I know there's not, but it just seems like more. Let's try Matthew 2. Okay, so the 5th edition has, they've taken the italicized words and made them just regular. Okay, so the font is different. The disadvantage is the font is smaller in this one. And so if you're someone like me who is farsighted, who has an issue with reading up close and you have smaller fonts, like it's a little bit harder to read than this one. This one's stands out a little more. This one's smaller font. So you just need to know that. The other big difference between the two is at the back of the 5th edition, there's a section about words that are alike. And I thought that was just kind of a fascinating addition to this. It says, sampling of some Greek words that share similar meanings. And so they're, all in there, like the word for accomplish, finish, or complete is telos versus teleres. And it just kind of shows the difference between and the similarities between the two of them. Not in the 4th edition. So if that's something you care about, maybe the 5th edition is something for you. The other thing I love is that the 4th edition's cover is it's kind of thinner and flimsy feeling. It actually feels like if you grew up in church, like I did in the 80s, 90s, whatever, and they had those pew Bibles that were like, that's what this feels like. It's not very pleasant to the touch. It's leather, but it feels like, those old school pew Bibles that they used to have, and it's very thin and it's pliable. This feels very different. This has a more substantial cardboardy cover that's more of a matte finish on the front. And it feels better. The edges are rounded instead of squared off. Just more, pleasant to the eye, pleasant to the touch when you're holding it, that kind of thing. The ribbon it feels a little bit more substantial than the 5th and the 4th, but not much. But yeah, so those are the major differences between the 5th edition and 4th edition. Other than the fact that this is just the updated version kind of a deal. So if you're someone who's like, I don't care, all I care about is I need to know the Greek text, need to have the Greek text. There's not much changes between the 5th edition and 4th edition on this one in the text and layout, except for the font and the italicized stuff. So if you're just like, I just need to have the text, maybe you can go online and find a used 4th edition, and it'll be cheaper. But if you're someone like, I need to have the latest edition of it because you need to have the most up-to-date notes and all that kind of stuff in it, and you care more about the regular print versus the italicized print, then the 5th edition will be the one you want to go with. All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful. If you're someone who's like, I don't know Greek from anything, then this probably wasn't the video for you, but it might be helpful for someone you could pass it along to. But anyway, give me a like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next video.